Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com. Welcome to Drinking Bros podcast, kids. Got a Hollywood legend on the show today, D'Anthony.
Yep.
Got a legend in the house, and he's wearing is it a MAGA hat? We got Nick Searcy here.
It's a modified MAGA hat. It says "Make America Talented Again." That's my mission.
We're devoid of talent at this point, don't you think?
That's right. It's Hollywood's ruined itself, and all the stuff that's coming out of there is kind of woke bullshit. And so we're trying to make America talented.
Isn't it sad? Like there's no the 90s and 2000 to 2010 or so were some of the best comedies ever made. Mm-hmm. Super irreverent, fucked up shit, and now it's just like, oh, you know what's really funny is doing what the government tells you. That's hilarious. Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I'm curious.
Nothing's funny anymore.
Yeah, I'm curious, Nick, has it affected your career at all? Because you're pretty vocal about your support for Trump and everybody else.
I'm sure it has. I mean, I haven't worked as much in the last few years as I used to, but still, I mean, I'm working for the other side too. You know, I just did the movie with the Daily Wire movie with Gina Carano, and I did 2 documentaries that I produced and directed over the last couple of years. So there's life after the Hollywood left. I mean, I keep telling people it's time to stop letting those bullies push you around. Stand up for what you believe, and if they don't want to work with you, don't work with them. Yeah. Make your own thing.
And it's interesting that the Daily Wire is now making movies because they have enough money to start funding movies with people who are on the right or associated with the right. How was that project compared to everything else? Was it the same type of Hollywood production? Was it different at all? Or did they have everything figured out?
You know, it was, we did that movie non-SAG. A lot of us were FICOR, Financial Corps, which means we are fee-paying non-members of SAG. And there's no repercussions from doing that. I encourage all the actors out there to do that so that you're not beholden to the union with the ridiculous rules. But that's the thing. That movie was done non-SAG, but they basically kept all the SAG rules that protect actors that make sense, and they ignored all the stupid COVID rules that hurt people and get people killed. And so we had a perfectly nice experience making that film, and it was not any different than any SAG production I've ever worked on.
Was it shot in California, though, or was it someplace else? Because I know California's had the mask mandates and the vaccines and all that stuff. Was it shot someplace else?
Yeah, we shot it in Montana, where they have things like mountains and horses and stuff, because it's a Western.
Right.
You know, and, and I know they have those things in California, too, but you can't do anything in California anymore. It's not worth it. They tax the shit out of you, and then and they make everything miserable. So everybody's shooting things outside of California.
They've already done this once before, right? When a lot of the union stuff, the production nonsense, the over-regulation led a bunch of people to go to Toronto to start shooting shit, right?
Yes.
They're going to do it again. Now, like, Atlanta got big after that, after Toronto did, and now it's going to be Montana because Costner's the headquarters for his studio is in Salt Lake City, right? Or
it is, yeah. So they actually shoot that show in Utah, yeah.
So it's in Park City, but like that part of the country is going to get a lot more production capability soon.
New Mexico is. New Mexico, Netflix is building a studio there. They're also building one here in Austin, Texas, where we're located, Nick. I feel like more and more productions, they call them runaway productions, are getting, they're running away from California. We hate shooting there. Dan and I do. Are you looking for more projects that aren't shooting in California so you can get out of that bullshit?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've already started moving out. I live in Burbank part of the time, but now I live in Nashville, Tennessee part of the time, because it's just, the quality of life in Los Angeles especially is just terrible day to day. And you come to a place like Nashville, and not only are there not zombies walking around everywhere with masks on, everybody's kind of happy here. You try to talk to people in Los Angeles, they're all kind of annoyed and miserable and bitter, and it's just a nicer place to live.
Yeah,
and I shot 2 Westerns in Montana this year, 2 movies back to back in the same town. So a lot of production in Montana, Oklahoma, North Carolina, some in Tennessee, still going to Georgia. Not so many things going to Canada anymore because it's even worse up there.
It is bad in Canada, yeah.
I don't like shooting in Canada. anyway. So I'm happy that it's all going to different states and states.
Me too.
States you support too. More importantly, with you, tell us about the Gina Carano projects. We'll start with that one first. How did that come about, and did they seek you out because of your politics, or because you were a great actor and that aligned with their politics? I'm always curious because we know Jeremy very well. We know Ben Shapiro's been on the show before. Was that what they were actively seeking of like, all right, here's some actors who aren't getting as much work as they used to because of what they believe in, and we're going to pull them on this side? Because I know Gina was the same way.
Well, no, Gina got involved with them. You know, that's a pretty famous story that she got fired by Disney because she said something, you know, that wasn't politically correct to them. And so they made a deal with Gina. I think I kid Jeremy about, the reason they came to me is because they'd offered it to every old man in Hollywood, and they kind of got around to me. But they were looking actually, I mean, I guess in some ways, since they decided to make a non-SAG movie, I mean, one of the first questions they asked my agent was, is Nick FICOR, can he do a non-union film? So I think they were seeking out people that at least, were FICOR, not necessarily were ideologically in lockstep with the Daily Wire, but just people that were not afraid to step out and do a non-SAG film with an outfit like the Daily Wire, which is, conservative.
Yeah. I'm surprised Sorbo hasn't done one with them yet, but he's kind of done his own up until this point, so I don't know.
And they're new. Like Daily Wire's only got a couple films under their belts. You and I have gotten some screeners for them. And
this is the second film that they've actually financed and made themselves. Run, Hide, Fight, they bought that film after it was already made. And then they made the movie that just was released.
Oh yeah, hold on, I'll tell you what it is. It's in my email.
Why can I not remember it?
Shut In.
Shut In.
Shut In. Yep. They just released Shut In, and I think Terror on the Prairie they're going to release in June.
Well, tell us what it is. What's Terror on the Prairie? Tell us about the movie.
It's a Western, and it's about a family on the. I don't want to give the whole plot away because the plot's really interesting, but it's a family living out on the prairie, and the father in the family has a dark past that involves the Civil War, and I play his former commanding officer who kind of has a score to settle with him.
Okay.
And so
let's. Do you want to play the trailer for it?
Yeah, do you have the trailer for it?
It's on Twitter.
Pop it up, Bob. There you go.
Yeah, put it up.
Yeah, boom.
Yep.
There we go.
I'm gonna pack the wagon and take our children out of this godforsaken place.
You move, you die. What do you want?
Your sins have found you out. And now they are visited upon your whole family.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a good cut.
And that you shot that in Montana?
Yeah.
What month? Do you mind me asking?
We started October and ended like 5th or 6th of November.
Whew. How was
Cold.
the weather? Yeah, I was going to say, because a couple of the actors, you could see their breath there. That's the first thing I think of when you're shooting in a Montana or a Canada or something like that. Of how do you shoot in the winter? How cold was it?
Well, it was cold AF. I mean, it was really, really cold. I kept kidding them and go, couldn't we have shot this a couple months earlier? God. But, it was damn cold. But I think in some ways it kind of helps a movie in a way. I mean, that we all survived it, and it looks rough, and it looks hard to live there, which is what you wanted, and it kind of enhanced it.
Yeah, that film that DiCaprio and Hardy did about the dude getting mauled by a bear.
Where they only shot it during magic hour, so they would shoot 1 hour a day?
Yeah, but I mean, it paid off right?
It did, but man, what a nightmare that would have been to shoot. My God.
The doing it out in the elements like that and getting that sense of realism.
It helps.
I feel like when I'm watching it, I can smell the frost in the air. I can smell the dirt that he's picking up and shit like that. That's a whole different level of filmmaking. Like you can tell when shit's
That's
fake.
Emmanuel Lubezki, and the movie you're referring to is The Revenant.
The Revenant,
and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
He won for Best DP, too.
Yeah, 2 years in a row on that. I think the year before that was Life of Water or something of Water.
Yeah. Who was Life of Water? Was that Guillermo del Toro?
Yes.
Shape
Shape
of Water, which I was in.
He
I
was in that.
Shape of Water.
Nick was in that.
Oh, congrats. Wow, that was an
Good
amazing
luck
film.
finding a movie he wasn't in.
I know. I thought that was your ultimate segue. I was like, dude, are you just telling him about the movie that he was in? That's our producer, Giorgio. He's mildly retarded. We've got a soft helmet that is being fitted right now for him. But we want to get it right.
He's just not high.
He's just not high enough.
Yeah.
That's his problem.
Yeah, that's a hell of a cast though. You, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, Octavia Spencer. There's a lot of fucking people in there.
Tons of people
Nick
in
Searcy.
Yeah,
Nick Searcy.
Well, I said you.
Obviously, you lead with Nick Searcy, and then the rest of these assholes are there. I've got a theory about Westerns and the rise of Westerns today. I want to hear your thoughts on it. I think Westerns are doing so well today because everybody was stuck inside for 2 years that all they do is fantasize about being outside or being in a time where there wasn't rules and you could just walk the streets and kill people if you had a disagreement or something like that. Because right now, it feels like...
if you're Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the gun did that. Alec didn't do that. It was the gun on that one.
Yeah, I've been, ever since then, I've been putting one of my guns out on the porch every night to see if it'll shoot anybody, and it hasn't shot anybody yet. But
Weird.
I think tonight might be the night.
Right.
Because guns they can do stuff on their own, right?
Yeah, apparently. But do you think that's true? That people are just looking for an escape or a simpler time outdoors?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I also think, in a strange way, I think it has something to do with the COVID bullshit, because I think a lot of it is like you can shoot a Western and it's mostly outdoors. So you don't have to do the same kind of stuff as if you're shooting, something that takes place in an office building and everybody's got to have a mask on every second and all that.
I also think people are kind of getting tired of modernity a little bit. You know what I mean? Like there's no escape. It used to be that there was reality and you used television or film or your phone at some point to escape from reality. Now it's this 24 hours a day and you have to go to the fucking mountain somewhere to escape this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's weird.
And also, if you tried to watch some of these shows that try to incorporate the COVID stuff into the storyline, it's just so stupid and boring. It's
dumb.
like it's not even believable as fiction.
Yeah.
So.
And the weirdest thing is, I feel like Hollywood has almost given up. Like most of the stuff that I see that was shot recently within the last year, they didn't incorporate any of the COVID stuff into it. I think people are so sick of it that they're like, dude, I don't want to see this on screen every day either.
No. I mean, what are you going to... You're putting masks on your good-looking stars, and making them cover up half their faces. It's like, who's going to watch that? I don't care.
Right.
I don't want to see half of Jennifer Aniston's face.
Well, it depends on which half.
Which depends on which half.
Like top or bottom or sides.
Look, she had all that work done. You want to see what she's done.
That's true, yeah. That's a good point.
She looks great for her age, though. My God.
Well, because she had all that work done.
Jay Anus she's done well for herself. She's shooting a movie with Sandler right now.
Another one,
exotic location, yeah.
Didn't they already do
It's the sequel to that.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, that movie's terrible.
You're welcome.
And so are both of them.
Do you like Netflix?
I watch it once in a while. To be honest, I mostly watch Netflix when my wife has it on. I don't.
The reason I ask is their salary for actors isn't great on there. If you do a guest spot, I mean, you're getting like $1,000 a day, which is, kind of just above the bare minimum.
Is that's I thought that
Scale
was scale
is
now.
like it was like $8.79 or something like that.
Right.
But Netflix is offering like $1,000, and then the residuals for it are pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
Streaming residuals suck. I wonder how somebody because you've got I think 160 credits here, 132 credits on IMDb as an actor. For someone who relies on residuals, have you noticed it going down since the streaming has started?
Well, Yeah, to some degree. Yeah. I mean, but a lot of the stuff I've done, feature films, the residuals are a little bit, they're kind of like they used to be.
That's good
But
to hear.
yeah, no, I have noticed it a little bit. I mean, it's when you're as rich as I am, it's hard to notice that stuff.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. We should have done this interview from your PJ, your private jet. You know?
Right.
Let's ask you about some of your projects here. A lot of people love you from Justified. When we told some of our audience members that you were coming on the show, they were like, oh, do you got to ask them about Justified? How'd you like working on Justified?
It was so much fun. Definitely one of the top 3 things that I've ever done. Great cast. I loved Oliphant. And the writers were terrific.
Walton
Graham
Goggins
Yost.
is awesome too.
Yeah. I didn't work with Walton much. I mean, I knew Walton a little bit beforehand. So, but mostly on that show, the only person I saw was Oliphant. He'd go out and work with the bad guys, and he'd come into my office, and I'd go, "You did what? Get the hell out of here!"
Yeah.
And,
You basically got paid to complain for 5 years.
Yeah.
Which is dope. Who wouldn't take that fucking job?
It was the cushiest job ever, but it was also great writing, and they really gave us a lot of freedom. I mean, the first season, Oliphant was kind of butting heads with them a little bit because we were changing the dialogue a lot, because Oliphant likes to do that. And by the second season, they had just kind of given in and said, okay, they're going to change the dialogue, so we need to just send a writer there to work with them every day.
Right.
And so we were all collaborating by the end, and
I mean, when you got pros like you and Oliphant and Walton Goggins and I guess he was young at the time, but Pitts has got a bunch of television under his belt now. You got to give them a little bit of freedom, flexibility to do stuff, right? It makes the conversation seem more normal.
But typically TV hates that.
I know. I don't understand why.
Rewrites.
I don't understand why, because you get into that Gilmore Girls bullshit where it's like, I say my line really quick, and then you say your line really quick, and then you say your line really quick, and then it's back and forth, and I'm like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Women love Gilmore Girls.
I know. Maybe
it.
We have lost just every female audience member ever right now.
We have 4. We have 4
All of them are
females,
picketing the Gilmore Girls take.
That's fine.
It's all dudes, but I think for TV, you're under such a tight schedule. That's the reason why. If you're doing takes of improv and everything else, it's just like, hey, bro, we've got to shoot a 1 hour drama in 1 week. We've got to move on.
Right. Well, we didn't do. It wasn't a lot of improv. It was mostly like we talked through the scene beforehand and go, I want to throw this in, I want to throw that in. I mean, they let me throw a lot of. In fact, the first season there was an article written about the great dialogue between Art Mullen and Oliphant, and both the lines they quoted were things that I made up. So I was going to Graham Yost and going, you need to pay me like a writer. It's like I'm writing this.
But that happens anytime you make anything, even if it's a speech. I always, if I'm going to give a speech or something, I'll read it out loud, at least to myself first, to see because you write it down and it looks good on paper, then you say it out loud, like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I got to throw in a bunch of stuff that my dad used to say, because my character is pretty much based on my own father. And so I got to throw in some barbs that my dad used to throw at me, which was fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Was he alive to see it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he would call me up and go, yeah, I remember when I said that to you.
You've done so much work here. I just want to breeze through some of these projects and ask you about them. Hot in Cleveland, obviously Betty White just passed away here a couple months ago. How was she to work with?
I did 2 different characters on Hot in Cleveland. They brought me back twice, and both times I played one time I played a warden, and the other time I can't remember what I played. But the time that I was playing the warden, I remember I cracked Betty White up. I said something that was kind of an improv line, and Betty White laughed so hard, and I was like, man, this is the best. She was so much fun and just such a great person. But I made her laugh once.
That's all you can ask for then.
Yeah.
If you made her laugh, that's amazing. You were also in Moneyball. How was it like to work with Brad Pitt and those guys?
That was fun. Moneyball was a funny experience because they had this room full of scouts, and we were about 6 of us were actors and 6 of us were actual scouts. And about 3 days in, it was supposed to be 3 days work. And about 3 days into it, Bennett Miller, the director, he comes in and says, I don't like anything we've shot. I'm throwing the whole thing out. I want you guys to just improvise the whole scene. And so the scouts were the only ones who knew anything about baseball, but they didn't know how to act. And of course, the actors didn't know much about baseball, but they were chewing up the scenery. So it was just chaos for like 3 days. And I told my agent at the time, I said, they're paying me just as much to just sit here as they are for me to make up lines. So I'm just going to sit here. And there was one line I remembered from reading the book where the scout says, about this one character, about this one pitcher. He says, well, he's got an ugly girlfriend. So I would pass on him. That means he doesn't have any confidence. So I threw that line in, and that was the only thing I said in the whole movie, and it made it into the trailer.
It's nice when you get a sweet line in the trailer, because then everybody thinks you're a huge part of the movie, and then they go and see it.
They showed that trailer at the Oscars. Like, people were calling me up and going, I just saw you on the Oscar telecast. That's the only line I have in the movie. That's all I said.
Well, one is all you need.
Isn't it weird, though? You do something like that. You probably went home and you were like, this movie's chaos. It's probably going to be total shit. And then all of a sudden it gets nominated for an Oscar.
I totally thought that. I mean, we stopped shooting for 3 days because Brad Pitt got so mad at Bennett Miller, he wouldn't even come to the set. So all the actors are just sitting around waiting for him to come back. And then we shot for 3 more days. And ended up shooting for 9 days on that thing when it was supposed to be 3. I made more money on that than I made on Castaway. And I totally told my wife when I got home, I said, this is going to be a piece of shit. I don't know.
Well, it worked out in the end.
It worked out in the end. Since you brought up Castaway, let's talk about Castaway. One of my favorite movies of all time. Whenever it's on, I will stop what I'm doing, and I know I'm going to lose 3 hours of my day.
It's a great movie. It really is.
And it still holds up to this day.
Yeah, that plane crash in that movie, that's one of the scariest things that has ever been made on film, I think. It's like, I wouldn't even let my son watch it to this day because he'll never get on a plane again,
Yeah.
But that was a great, I knew Tom Hanks a little bit before that. I'd done From the Earth and the Moon, which he produced.
Yeah, that was the TV series about the Apollo thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I remember watching that in high school. That was really good.
That was a great show. But, yeah, that was interesting because we shot half of that movie when Tom was fat, and then we had to wait 18 months for him to lose the weight, and then we shot the second half. Jesus. So, it was that's like the longest shoot I've ever been on. It was about 2 years.
Aren't you just worried about staying alive? That's all I keep thinking as a producer of like, man, I hope the cast lives for another 18 months.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. They give everybody a physical before every movie just to make sure they're going to live through the shoot. And that one was like, well, hope everybody makes it.
Yeah. Because 18 months is a long time.
Yeah.
When you see a movie like that, are you proud of the way that it turned out? Where you're like, is it hard to put into words when you see like something that actually came out great versus what the script was? Where you're just like, all right, cool, because it's always a 50-50 crapshoot where you're like, well, it's no matter how good the script is, it could be shit or it could be great.
Yeah. I got to say, I've been lucky. I haven't really done that much stuff that I thought was really awful. and if it was, nobody saw it. I've been pretty fortunate. Although I've gotten to the point now where it's hard for me to watch things that I'm in. I don't enjoy it. Like Shape of Water, for example. I was glad that movie did well. Mm-hmm. I liked working with Guillermo and the cast, but it's like I watched that movie once and I just went, God, who is that old guy they're claiming is me? I don't want to see that shit anymore.
Just because you don't like your physical appearance?
Yeah. Well, you get to be 59, 60, you've lost all your hair, everything's gone. It's like, and having to grow old on film like that, it's like, if you're not, you don't notice it if you're just walking around your real life. You don't notice how old you look every day, but then you just look at yourself preserved on film and you go, holy shit.
Yeah.
I've really fallen apart.
That's the way I feel about this show. You go back and look at it, I'm like, God damn it, man, I suck. I used to be rad, and now I look like a piece of shit.
I just get cooler every single day.
Yeah, Dan's the opposite. Yeah. Like, he loves it. He loves getting older.
I felt that way for a long time. We'll see how you feel in about 20 years.
I'll be gone. There's no way.
He doesn't think he's going to make it 20 years.
I probably will. I'm a cockroach. I'm never going to die.
No, I don't think so either. Tigerland. How was the Tigerland shoot? Tigerland's a great film.
Tigerland was so much fun. They shot that really like a low budget independent film, and so the pace of it was really great. I mean, we shot so fast. Everything was really energetic. Great bunch of people. Colin Farrell's first movie.
Yeah.
I remember talking to him at the time. You know, we were drunk one night and talking about it, and I said, "You better get ready, son. They're gonna make a star out of you." And and they sure did.
Did you know when you were on set that this guy was going to be the next big movie star?
Oh, well, when I worked with him, I did. Yeah, it's like, I mean, he was just great. He was just, you could tell there were just sparks flying off of him, and he's a good-looking kid, just a really, really powerful actor. And yeah, I knew immediately. I told him at the time. I said, "You're going to be huge."
Yeah,
get ready.
You're
going to be drinking a lot, pal.
Yeah. Holy shit!
You're going to be able to afford any amount of drinks you want.
What was he ever? He ended up going to rehab later on.
Like, you can't give an Irish dude that much money.
No, dude.
No.
Can't. Look at me. I've got 2 8% seltzers in my. At least I've got the water too, though.
Exactly.
Like, I'm learning to manage.
Your response. I got the water next to me as well. I've got a funny Colin Farrell story. We were doing a movie here in Austin, Texas, and he was here shooting a Western, I believe. I can't remember the name of the Western. But everybody around town was like, dude, Colin Farrell, that guy's going to be a huge movie star. And you could party with the other productions that were here. And when we went over to his place, he answered the door buck naked. And I was like, God damn, that's a lot of fucking confidence right there.
Yeah, they should have drafted him in Moneyball.
No. No. You knew Colin Farrell was going to be a superstar. You opened the door buck naked. You're like, oh, shit, for some strangers?
Yeah.
You're going to be a huge movie star.
It's American Outlaws.
American Outlaws, that's it.
Jesse James. He played Jesse James.
He did.
Yeah.
He did indeed. But cool as shit. That was before social media, and you could get away with shit like that, where it was just, you could be yourself. You don't have to worry about people taking photos, on their camera phones and shit like that. Do you think that's changed the business at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's changed not only how films are marketed, but it's changed how stars have to behave. It's now, look at what happened to Gina Carano. You say some perfectly obvious common sense stuff on Twitter, and all of a sudden in Hollywood, you're some sort of racist pariah, and you've got to be drummed out of everything. I mean, it's made everybody a little bit more careful and, frankly, more compliant and more boring.
Yeah, and stale.
That's
why we're only seeing remakes of old movies now and not new movies. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just fucking that. To me, that's just cowardice.
But you need companies like the Daily Wire that will come out, and they have nothing to lose because they don't have any allegiance to Hollywood. So they don't really give a shit. They can kind of just make what they want, which is why their projects have been so uniquely different, I think, because they're not held to that standard like everybody else.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to take it's just a natural progression of things. I mean, the Hollywood environment right now is so repressive and so anti-creative that something else is going to have to spring up. You can't just suppress our artistic expression across the board like this and not expect it to bubble up somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your films. The assassination of Richard Nixon. Sean Penn was in that. How was that experience?
I had a great time working with Sean. Sean and I were actually friends for a while. He had cast me in a movie he directed called The Pledge, which I wound up not being able to do because of scheduling or something. But he and I were kind of friendly for a while, and then he got mad at me because I was a Republican, and we got in kind of an email fight. And I haven't heard from him since. Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, he was a big fan of Hugo Chavez.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No, I know.
He's a fucking idiot.
Well, I think I said something out loud or something about, this is 2002. So what? Bush was president. I think I said something out loud about, Republicans aren't so bad, or I don't know, whatever I said. But he writes me and said, if you'd known, knowing my politics, why did you even take the role in the assassination of Richard Nixon? And I kind of wrote him back and I said, well, pal, not everybody gets $5 million every time they get a perm in their hair or they grow a mustache. Some of us have to take the parts that we're given. I said, working with you was a great pleasure, but it's also a great thing on my resume. And, you know, if I only worked with people that I agreed with ideologically, I'd be broke. So kiss my ass.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, he had just won the Oscar for Mystic River, and he's writing me in the middle of the night, probably drunk. And I told him, I said, you know, congratulations on your Oscar. Now take that thing and cram it up your ass so you can look at it every morning, because that's obviously where your head is.
Yeah, that's real stupid.
Like, for some reason, he hasn't talked to me since then. I don't know why.
Weird.
People ask.
People are so
still.
sensitive.
Yeah, people ask us still all the time, like how are just in casual conversation, I'll hear people say, "Can you imagine these people used to hang out together?" I'm like, yeah, because nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah, nobody gave a shit.
Like you didn't have a fucking ID card with a elephant or a donkey on it when you walk into a party. You walk in and do cocaine like everybody else. Okay, stop being.
That's
a pussy.
Exactly right. It didn't used to be that way.
No one cared.
It's
It's a trope that the 1970s dad they had strong opinions about JFK one way or the other, right? But they would get together, drink, and yell at each other about those opinions. They still hung out.
Yeah.
Right? We can't do that anymore. There's no tolerance. Like, oh, he might hurt somebody's feelings. Fuck your feelings, bitch.
Yeah. Everything's just gotten to be out of control.
Well, like this movie that I just made, I released on Thanksgiving Day, Capital Punishment. You know, it's like my agent wouldn't even watch the movie. He wouldn't even watch it. And I'm like, dude, you're my agent. You're not going to watch my work? And he's like, I just can't bring myself to sit through that. I'm like, it's just a fucking movie.
But how does he even know what's in it before he watches it?
How does he know what's in it?
He doesn't. You know, it's a movie about January 6th, because I was there. I shot some footage while I was there. And then we decided, after the government started lying about everything and then started breaking down doors of people who went there who didn't even go in the building, you know, we just decided to make a movie about it. And he didn't know what was in it. But the people in Hollywood are so afraid of even experiencing something like that. And I think it's because they're afraid that their mind might be changed. And if their minds are changed, then they wouldn't be one of the cool kids anymore. You know, they wouldn't be one of the hip crowd in Hollywood. So they can't risk that. They've just got to say, oh, that's a racist movie made by white supremacists.
There's no tolerance for nuance. We're seeing that with all the shit with Rogan.
Yeah.
Like he just has people on and listens to what they say, and that's a bridge too far, apparently, to listen to other people talk.
No, you can't give them an audience. Give them a platform. That's their new code for like silencing opposition.
Yeah, and by the way, all these people who it's like, remember goth kids in high school? Right?
Yeah.
They did that because they wanted to set themselves apart from everybody else, but they knew that people thought that was stupid. Like that was part of it. And now these kids do all this random crazy shit. They fucking bootlick and all this other nonsense, and they still think that they're the fucking counterculture. Dude, if every major corporation and the entire legacy media apparatus is constantly championing what you do, guess what? You're not counterculture.
Yeah.
You're the establishment, bitch.
Yeah.
Wake the fuck up.
That's right.
I mean, it's so pathetic. Yeah. It's so pathetic. I've never seen anything more pathetic in my life than people. It's like corporatist fucking woke nonsense. It's so stupid.
Yeah. And old people like me are the Sex Pistols now, and these young kids are the...
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
How crazy is it that boomers are making a comeback as the fucking counterculture again?
It's crazy. Let's talk about capital punishment. So you were actually there that day? You were in D.C. on January 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 100,000 people there.
Yeah, but I mean, as busy of an actor as you are, I'm surprised you had the time, frankly, to go up.
Well,
up
I
there.
was going back east anyway, and I thought, a friend of mine was like going, let's just go see what it is, and I was like, all right, I'll stop by there on my way,
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like, I'm going to go overthrow the government, It's just like, okay, I'll go see what it is. I'm going to North Carolina anyway. And so we stopped back, and we I filmed some stupid stuff on my iPhone, and it looked like a tailgate party to me. It was a bunch of old people walking around having fun, singing the Star Spangled Banner, and then they started waving their flags, and somebody had a jam box that was playing We're Not Gonna Take It over and over again on a loop. And it was just like, okay, I went home about 3:00, back to the place I was staying. Looked like a lot of fun. And then I get home and it's just like it's nothing but violence at the Capitol, which I didn't see any of it. I didn't see any of that. So basically what you had that day and what the media never showed you, you just said there were 100,000 people there. There were 2 million people there. There were so many people there that you can't even believe it. And the media never showed you any of that. All they showed you was the few hundred or so that did stuff at the Capitol. And then they didn't bother telling you who those people actually were, because at least half of them were not Trump supporters. They were FBI operatives and CIA plants and Antifa and BLM, who we have footage of them changing clothes in the bushes to cover up who they really are. I mean, there's just such a huge story here that's not being told by the media, and so that's why we made the movie.
Is that in the documentary of them changing clothes and all that stuff? And you got footage of that?
Yeah, it's in the film.
Every now and again, you can find those clips on Twitter, too, before they're able to take them down.
No shit.
Because it's disinformation. So we've just re-established the definition of disinformation. It's no longer information that is intentionally put out that's incorrect. Now it's information, regardless of veracity, that's put out that's against the narrative. Right? That's how it is now. And
that's how it's always been done in communist countries. I mean, anything that goes against the government narrative is those people must be suppressed. That is a lie. They are enemies of the state. And that's how they're treating people. We have so many interviews with people whose whole families were handcuffed, their doors broken down by the FBI in the middle of the night. And I mean, it's just like a police state. And it's shocking that none of this is being reported. And I don't know. There's a few other places you can see stuff like this, but not like what we have in our movie.
Right. Where is that movie currently at right now? Is it on Amazon and Apple and all that stuff? No,
they wouldn't have it. It's being released. CapitalPunishmentTheMovie.com is a website, and it's also at HisGlory.tv. There's 2 places you can get it right now, and you can order it.
Was there a play that trailer that's on there?
Yeah, play the trailer that's up there so they can see
I was showing the website real quick.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. While you look for it, Bob.
No, I got it. I'm just showing the website so people know what the website looks like.
Gotcha.
But anyway, I do have the trailer right here as well.
All right,
you ready?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
These are domestic terrorists.
The 6th was all deception.
The level of sophistication, tactic.
People were putting on Trump stuff beforehand or taking it off afterward.
It was members of our own government.
This is treason. They want to criminalize dissent.
The FBI, you have a federal search warrant for the property. Come out with your...
I opened the shutters that had the battering ram, so I hear boom. Then they told me to come out, a whole bunch of red dots all over my chest.
They're hunting down Trump supporters like dogs.
We've been screaming, we've been fighting, but now I want you to pray with me.
I spent the next 3 weeks in jail. They put me in a cell by myself, total solitary confinement in a cell not much bigger than a walk-in closet.
FBI, guns drawn. Hands up, hands up, hands up, put your hands on the wall, hands on the wall.
This is psychological warfare.
It didn't have a battering ram in it, but what it did have was a turret on top. He was pointing his gun at all my neighbors, ready to pull up anytime he needed to.
They handcuffed me.
They handcuffed you?
Yes.
Oh, 147 days since my wife was murdered, so I gotta be her voice now.
CapitalPunishmentTheMovie.com if you want to check that out. Nick, did you do all the interviews?
Yeah, I did. I interviewed everybody in the film, and I make a few stupid jokes in it here and there. It's kind of actually funny in places. So,
is it really?
Yeah, there's some jokes in it. I mean, it's definitely serious subject matter, but we found that without a few jokes here and there, the movie would just be like a plane crash, and just like one horrible, depressing thing after another.
Sure.
But yeah, we talked to at least 4 different people whose doors were broken down. by the FBI. These are people who've never been arrested before in their lives. One, Dr. Simone Gold, who's one of the frontline doctors. This is a person who's a public figure. And all of these people, it's like you would expect if the FBI wanted to talk to them, they would call them on the phone and go, "We'd like to talk to you."
Yeah.
We know that you were at the Capitol on January 6th, but no, they do it in this incredible show of force, embarrassing them in front of their neighbors, turning their whole community, their whole neighborhoods against them.
Yeah, somebody that's a material witness, usually just call them on the phone. You don't break their fucking door down.
Right.
Like, you're not a suspect, you're a material witness.
Right.
What the fuck?
Well, they think all these people are, suspects for a conspiracy to overthrow the government. Nobody there was armed. I mean, most of the people that were there were my age or older. What are we armed with? Like polygrip, blood pressure medicine, sleep apnea mask. It's like nobody had any weapons.
I'm just thinking of a bunch of 60-year-olds running around with CPAP masks now, screaming at the sky. Yeah,
well, that's one of the jokes in the movie. I say, what are we going to break into the Capitol for? To take a nap?
Yeah, well,
because we got prostate problems, we need to piss.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's. I've always, ever since it happened, I've made the point that the most armed subset of the most armed population on the entire planet, which is to say, conservatives in America, show up en masse, at least 100,000, if not 1 million or 2 people there, and not one person brings a gun, and their intent was to overthrow the government with no guns. Yeah. The people that have all the guns showed up with no guns to take over the government. Cool. Yeah, I believe that.
So everything they're telling you is part of the narrative. They're lying for a reason, and the reason is they want to make sure that nobody ever stands up to them ever again. They're doing the same thing in Canada right now. This whole thing about freezing bank accounts if you contributed to the truckers, that's meant to send a message to say, don't ever resist us or we will crush you.
Yeah, it's like raising a village after the village helps somebody. That's classic fucking dictator bullshit. I think that the 400 or so, 380 or however many people it was that entered the White House, half of them they stayed within the velvet ropes, which is really polite, taking selfies and shit. I feel like they were drawn into that. I think it was a setup. Like the federal government counted on there being enough hotheads, or if you have any kind of political rally, a certain amount of complete lunatics are going to show up for sure. Like 2%. 2% of 100,000 is a lot of fucking people. You know what I mean? So, but it wasn't even that many. So
no.
But yeah, I think they were drawn into kind of a setup, and it's what Trudeau just tried to do in Ottawa. He continued to make threats and escalate shit, hoping that people would start fighting the police, and they never did. They never did. There's not one fucking video of a Canadian citizen acting violently towards a police officer at all. The Ottawa Police Twitter account keeps saying that, like, oh, they were throwing bikes underneath our horses. Like, no, that was actually a woman on a fucking scooter, and she's 65 years old and Indigenous. Oops.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you not realize that every motherfucker there's got a camera phone and they're watching you this whole time? And I think it's actually worked out pretty well for them. They didn't. The police did all that. And now the world knows exactly where we're all going here. Like this World Economic Forum bullshit where these... and Trudeau is a light version. His deputy PM is deeper into that shit than any of these motherfuckers are. So it's only going to get worse in Canada until they fucking figure out that maybe in addition to their Charter of Rights, they need a First and Second Amendment. We'll see what happens.
And it's going to get worse here because they're getting away with doing the same thing to the January 6 people that they're doing to the truckers.
Yeah, there's going to be a point here. I mean, it's different in America, right? Like they're trying to build this gun registry so they can identify that shit. They're trying to do a number of things, but what they didn't count on was the tens of thousands of fucking professional gunfighters that they just trained in a 25-year-long war.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that. One of them's right over there, actually.
Yeah. Can I interject on that too?
Sure, bro. Yeah.
What I've been saying for a while too, this is before year and a half, 2 years. It was actually, I had a lot of time to drink and think during the pandemic and the lockdown. Was this whole thing with, we have a lot of gunfighters who are trained to gunfight, but the way I've been saying that they're not going to do it by showing up with Humvees and armor at your house. They're going to show up with a very diverse group of people in suits, and they're going to say, how many guns do you have? Will you register them? And if you say no, they will say non-compliant.
Right.
And then they will come back in 3 months.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're non-compliant enough, that's when they freeze your accounts. And everyone's like, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. Am I? How's Canada doing?
Yeah.
They're going to freeze you out.
They're
That's
literally
it.
doing it right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's happening again.
Yeah. I mean, it is happening, and it's what I've been talking about for the last couple of months, which is all of this compliance without need. So we know now for an absolute fact, although a lot of us have been saying this for 2 consecutive years, that these vaccines do not stop the transmission of the virus. That you used to get banned from Twitter for saying that. We know that to be an absolute rock solid fact now. So a mandate for you to get it, that doesn't make any sense, because the reasoning for that was, well, we're trying to protect everybody. So if enough people get it, then they'll start. No, it doesn't protect from transmission. It doesn't protect from getting it in the first place, right? So the vaccine mandates, the mask mandates, it was all about compliance and firing people in the military and police and healthcare because of it. It had nothing to do with public safety. It had to do with weeding out people that would stand up and say fucking no. And now they have control of the military. They have control of our fucking police forces, except for locally in America, luckily, the sheriff's departments don't report to anybody except for the voters, right? That's a good thing. But they have the police and they have the healthcare apparatus. Like, how much damage can you do when you have the police, the military, and the entire healthcare apparatus in a country? You can shut somebody's life down, right? I mean, it's no bueno.
No,
well, it's also happening in Hollywood. You know, that I keep hearing from all these actors. I got 3 calls while I'm on the horn with you guys just now that I've got to return. They've mandated that the actors all have to have the booster shots by March. And so I have all these actor friends of mine who like, okay, I did the first one because I thought I had to have it to work, but I'm not doing this now. And basically what they're doing in Hollywood is the same thing they've done in the military and in the police departments. They are now weeding out everybody in Hollywood that dares disagree with them. And now they don't have to do it on ideological lines. Now they can just say, oh, you won't get the shot. Well, for health reasons, we have to exclude you. And see, that's what they're doing. They're weeding out everybody, trying to bankrupt and exclude anybody that won't be compliant with every nonsensical thing they tell you to do. And the boosters are the most nonsensical thing that has ever come down the pike. And that's why they're insisting that everybody has to have it.
And one of the biggest reasons to join SAG-AFTRA is their amazing health insurance. And it's always been great for years and years and years. But now with this, like you were saying, it's just like, all right, great. We can weed some people out, and then we don't have to pay that money anymore.
That's right. Well, they're trying to get everybody in as you get older in SAG, at age 65, you have to leave SAG insurance plan and go to the Obamacare plan if you live in California.
No shit.
Yeah, you can't get it anymore after you turn 65. And everybody's been fighting it. Even liberals like Ed Asner was fighting this before he passed away, you know, but that's what it's like. You know, the union is really an arm of the police state now.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Biden, there was never a bill that was written to mandate vaccines, right? That never happened. It was never a bill that floated through Congress and the Senate that got debated in committees and anything like that. It was that he used fucking OSHA. It was regulation. It was a compliance thing. It had nothing. Like they knew they couldn't make it a law, but what they can do is go into different agencies that have to take their orders, I guess, from the executive branch and say, oh, just change the regulation. And that's why it's so important to the idea of natural law versus case law versus common law, making sure that bad laws don't get passed, right? Like you have to look downstream from a law. How can language be changed inside of this sentence to make it mean something else?
Yeah.
That's a big fucking thing to think about, and we just don't do it in this country.
No, and then the media forms their own narrative, and they can write whatever they want and get their ideas out there. Because, you know, with your project that you said could not get on Apple or Amazon, which is shocking to me.
No.
Hollywood is making a January 6th movie called J6. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I'm sure. Is Adam McKay making it?
Yes, Adam McKay is producing it. Yeah. So you know about the film?
Well, I've read about it. I knew that they were doing it.
They didn't call you for that role?
Yeah, they didn't call you to be in it.
Come play yourself.
There's nobody there will not be one person who was actually at January 6th that will be in that movie. I'll be willing to bet.
Yeah, that's probably true.
No, and with that, I wanted to ask you, since you were there, do you think the police let down that gate? Because it seemed like at a certain point they just opened it up for people to go into the Capitol. Did you cover that in the documentary at all?
I saw them do it myself. I shot them moving the barricades so that people could come towards the Capitol. I filmed that on my iPhone. It's in the movie. We talked to two twin sisters, 74-year-old grandmothers, who said they were standing there and they saw people going in and out of the Capitol. And one of them turned to the other and said, "Do you want to go in?" And they go, "Yeah, I'd like to see it." And so they go in. The Capitol Police are standing right there. They say, "Is it okay if we're in here?" And they said, "Yes." And they went in, they took a few pictures, they went home. 3 weeks later, the FBI's banging on their door.
The 74-year-olds?
Huh?
The 74-year-olds?
Yeah. They came down to the 74-year-old sister's house and said, we're thinking you might be accused of domestic terrorism. You're now on a no-fly list. All this bullshit.
I feel like if our country gets taken down by 74-year-old little old lady twins, then we kind of had it coming. You know what I mean?
That's right. But no, absolutely, it's in the movie. This guy Ray Epps that they've been talking about.
Yeah, no shit.
One of the things that Ray Epps did was he went to his crew started breaking windows at the Capitol 15 minutes before Trump even stopped speaking. And one of the things they did, there was all this fencing up around the Capitol that said restricted area, do not enter. Epps and his crowd physically took down all that fencing before the speech was over, so that the people walking over from the speech towards the Capitol building did not know that they were entering a restricted area because all the signs had been taken down. And so half of the people that we interviewed in the movie, their charges, part of their charges are entering a restricted area. Well, they said, we didn't see any signs. We didn't know it was a restricted area. And that's because FBI operatives like Ray Epps took all that stuff down. We have a guy that we interview in the movie who was invited to the Capitol that day by an FBI informant, a guy he knows personally who is an FBI informant. And the FBI informant that he was with kept trying to get him to go in the building.
Well, there's still six unnamed co-conspirators.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look on a federal warrant or anything logged into the federal criminal justice system, an unnamed co-conspirator is always an informant. There's no like if you don't know who it is and you put unknown subject.
Okay.
Right? It's unsub. That's how you say that. If it's an unnamed co-conspirator, it means that you're protecting that person's identity for some reason. Now, I can't imagine what the reason might be other than the fact that they work for the fucking federal government or are in liaising with them in some way.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like maybe they've got diplomatic immunity. I don't know. A lot of diplomats like to get involved in insurrections.
That's so weird.
They're protecting the people who were there to make that happen. Yep. And that's why there was no police presence there. That's why there was no media coverage on the speech or on anything except the Capitol building. That was a setup. They tried to get these people, and like you were saying, some of the people were kind of hepped up and did some crazy stuff, but it was definitely orchestrated.
Well, I mean, there's so much footage of this shit. It's very easy to tell people who are like, this is surreal. I don't know what the fuck's going on here, and walking through the stanchions inside the Capitol, and then a bunch of crazy knuckleheads storming through the place looking for politicians.
Yeah.
Like, those people should be in jail forever. But people who are literally, if you stay within the velvet ropes, I feel like maybe just like let bygones be bygones.
You can't take a podium home, but you might be able to get a selfie with
I
them
thought that
ropes.
podium picture is really funny. But yeah, I mean, don't loot shit. What the fuck?
Yeah. That's probably going to cost him 2 years, I would imagine.
And the QAnon shaman got a 4-year sentence. That seems a bit much for being a knucklehead that lives in your mom's basement.
The QAnon shaman, if you see that footage, he was walked into the chamber by a Capitol policeman.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was with him. I mean, he came in with a policeman. And he gets 4 years? It doesn't make any sense.
No.
We were doing a live show that day, and we cut into the feed and just went live with like C-SPAN and everything else. Our video got taken down. It feels like a lot of this footage that is posted from that day that is showing possibilities that there was wrongdoings there from the other side have been taken down. Is that part of the documentary as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of that footage, we used a lot of that stuff. We bought it from people whose stuff had been taken down from YouTube and showing a lot of these things. Yeah, the people screaming at the crowd, enter the Capitol, enter the Capitol. They've got like little Madonna microphones, like they're reporting to somebody. You know, it's like it's an operation, and you can see it, and that's what they don't want to put on the news. That's why they took all that stuff down.
When you look back at all of it, like, you know, you've lived a long life at this point. Is this one of the most shocking periods of time that you've lived through?
Oh, you bet. I mean, I never thought it would be this way. I mean, you know, the repression that's happened just since Trump was elected. I mean, that's really when it started to get bad, just because of the 100% one note of the media trying to destroy Trump, trying to destroy anybody associated with him, trying to vilify me as a racist or white supremacist because I wouldn't vote for the Democrat. I mean, I'm a father of an adopted foster child who happens to be black, and they're coming after me like I'm a racist because I voted for Trump. I mean, but that's the narrative, and just seeing that over and over, the drumbeat, and seeing lots of people that I know who are friends of mine who just buy into that whole thing, who you know, a lot of them don't speak to me anymore. And it's like, these are people I've known for 30 years. They know my whole life story. And suddenly to them, I'm some sort of racist. And you talk to even the people in capital punishment, that's happened to a lot of people. And this sort of intentional division of Americans, pitting us against each other, saying, those people over there are racist white supremacists who hate you and want to kill gay people, and you've got to, if you don't vote for us, you're one of them. I mean, that sort of shit happening now is going to destroy this country, and it's deliberate. They're deliberately trying to destroy America by pitting us against each other.
Yeah, well, George Soros just put $125 million into his super PAC.
Really?
In November, after the election in November, this last like off-term election, not a midterm, but an off-term election, he put 125 more million into that, and that's after spending 1.5 million on the recall for Gavin Newsom. By the way, I mean, this guy's spending a ton of fucking money in our country. He doesn't live here.
No.
Why is he doing it?
Because he wants to destroy America, and he is paying off people, you know, politicians, and some of whom also want to destroy America. Yeah. I mean, it's a combination of foreign enemies and domestic. You know, the foreign enemies are funding our domestic enemy.
Yeah, Justin Trudeau a couple years ago, I think it was 2015, said the quiet part out loud. He was talking about public response and stuff like that. And he goes, yeah, I kind of admire the Chinese system because they have so much control over their public. It's really easy to get things done. It makes them a lot more flexible in doing their shit. Like, that's the ideology that people like that have.
Yeah.
Like their goal, your number one goal in a free society should be to perpetuate freedom and liberty, right? And if it's anything else, if it's to stop, like there's too many deaths this year. We got to do something about that. No, you don't. That's not your fucking job. Right? Your job is to make sure that human beings, individuals, can make the most amount of their own choices at the lowest possible level possible. That's your job as a government, and that's it. But whatever,
and that's why they hate us.
Yeah, it is, and that's like. But look, China's smart. They waited for America to get big and strong and powerful, and they just used fucking woke nonsense to turn at least half the country into fucking sycophant bootlickers.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And now it's going to be a fucking fight. Like, nobody's ever voted their way out of fucking tyranny. Believe
Absolutely
that shit.
Right.
Yeah,
and individual liberty is the thing they want to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say that.
Yep.
That's because individual liberty and personal entrepreneurship are the ultimate inoculation to tyrannical bullshit.
Right.
Those two things combined are the only thing that stop that shit from happening. Otherwise, you end up in communism or feudalism. One of the two, typically.
Right.
Nick, you've been fascinating. This is the point in the show we get to the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give the Drinkin' Bro of the Week to?
Drinkin' Bro of the Week. Is this someone living or dead? Somebody I know personally?
Could be either. Could be either.
Well, I'm going to go with one of my real drinking bros, Rodney Carrington.
Funny.
He's stand-up comic. He's fearless. He's made his own. He's created his own business, and he's just a hilarious, wonderful guy. And I've been opening for him from time to time on some of his shows. I'm going to be going out with him end of March and first week in April to do some stand-up. But Rodney is a great patriot and just a really, really wonderful guy. And I'm always inspired by him because he's created his own very successful entertainment role outside of Hollywood without any help from them. And he's an inspiration to me and a hell of a guy to drink with. Nobody more fun than Rodney Carrington.
Well, let us know if you're going to be here in Austin. We'll come out and see the show.
Absolutely.
You know, I was just in Houston like 2 weeks ago. Rodney doesn't play Austin very often. They're a little bit too liberal for his audience.
You should come. He should try again because Rogan is doing a lot here in Austin now, and there's a lot of comedy, and it's not very.
good.
It's not very PC here anymore.
Tons, yeah. It's nice. Appreciate the conversation today, Nick.
I had a great time talking to you guys.
We did
It's
too.
nice to be on a podcast where I could say bad words.
Yeah,
You say the worst shit on this goddamn thing.
I mean,
Are you kidding me?
it probably costs us a couple of bucks, but
It definitely does.
fuck them, right?
But
What am I
yeah,
gonna
fuck
do?
it.
Yeah,
Fuck them. It's worth it.
yeah, it is.
There you go.
100%.
Rob, do you want to say fuck it to get us out
Oh,
of here?
fuck that. Nick, you're awesome, dude. Hey, I've heard of Rodney Carrington, too. I've been a fan of his stand-up forever. I haven't had a drink with the man. He's been one of my favorite stand-up comedians forever. Would love to meet him. If he comes to Austin, like you were saying, Dan and Ross, I'll fly down from New York. Speaking of liberals, the belly of the fucking beast. He plays here, I'll come down. I'd love to see him.
We'll do it.
Well, if he comes to Austin, I'll come with him because he kind of has a standing offer with me. It's like I fill in for his opener whenever his opener can't make it. But he also said, if there's any place you really want to go to, you can just come. So
Okay.
All right, perfect.
I'll come with it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Check out the movie Capital Punishments, and looking forward to the one with you and Gina Carano.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
That's going to be awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you, or more importantly, where you want them to go to check out what you're working on.
Well, go to capitalpunishmentthemovie.com or hisglory.tv. Both those sites you can buy the film. And also on Twitter, you can find me at Yes Nick Searcy. But my Twitter feed is just a knife fight day in and day out. But if you want some of that shit, come over.
Yeah, Twitter's a hellhole, isn't it? It's not real. My wife is it's not real. It's it's some kind of sim world on there, and I agree.
I just look at it like an improv class. I'm just trading insults with people. It's kind of fun.
That's what Gat Saad does. He just does like really satirical shit. Like he gets most of his heat these days is from conservatives because he's mocking liberals, and conservatives don't notice that he's actually mocking them. They're like, "Oh, you really believe that? Fuck you!" And he's like, "All right, I'm a Jew from Lebanon. I can probably get away with it."
Yeah.
Just calm down, everybody. It's Twitter. Calm down.
Nick, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. For D'Anthony Holloway, Rob O'Neill, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good night, everyone.